Hi, second grade. Chapter 15 is called She's Back. I wonder who the she is that they're referring to. Dee Dee ran across the playground screaming. At first, Louis thought she was just having fun, but then he realized something was wrong. He hurried after her and grabbed her arm. Dee Dee, are you all right? He asked. She stared at him wide-eyed as she continued to scream. Several other kids gathered around. What's wrong with Dee Dee? Asked Myron. I don't know, said Louis. Dee Dee hiccuped 3 times, then gasped. I saw her. Who? Asked Louis. Dee Dee didn't answer. She just stared right through him. But everyone else knew whom Dee Dee had seen. Most of them had seen her too during the last 2 weeks. Where was she? Asked Todd. On the monkey bars, said Dee Dee, still trembling and breathing hard. I was hanging upside down, and suddenly she was hanging upside down right next to me. Did she wiggle her ears? Asked Jenny. Uh-oh, do we know who this is now? Only one, said Dee Dee. I jumped off and ran away before she could wiggle the other one. That's good, said Rondi. Who is she? Asked Louis. A hippopotamus? No, said Myron with a laugh. Why do you say that? Because when a hippopotamus gets mad, it wiggles its ears. She's worse than a hippopotamus, said Allison. I saw her last week at the water fountain, said Todd. I bent down to get a drink, and then there she was, drinking at the faucet next to me. I saw her on the stairs, said Rondi. I was going up the stairs, and she went right past me, sliding down on the banister. Who? Asked Louis. Mrs. Gorf, said Dee Dee. Oh, no. Just saying the name sent a shiver of fear through her body. Oh, your old teacher, said Louis. Is she back? I always wondered what happened to her. The children looked at each other. Mrs. Gorf was the teacher before they had Mrs. Jules. They had never told anyone how they got rid of her. They especially couldn't tell Louis. She was the meanest teacher in the history of Wayside School. Of course, there are other teachers at other schools who are meaner. Louis looked toward the monkey bars. I don't see her, he said. Well, she was there, Dee Dee insisted. I just saw her. You just imagined you saw her, Dee Dee, said Louis. If you hate somebody or if you love somebody, you often think you see that person when she isn't there. It's very common. It's just like Mrs. Drazzle. Who's Mrs. Drazzle? Asked Todd. She was the worst teacher I ever had, said Louis. He shivered just thinking about her. She was my teacher when I was your age. I sometimes think I see her too, and I still have nightmares about her. Was she mean? Asked Rondi. She was horrible, said Louis. Every morning she used to check our fingernails. If they were dirty, she'd tell the whole class. Louis has dirty fingernails this morning, she'd say in a really nasty voice. And if you talked in class, she would pick up the waste paper basket and put it over your head. You had to leave it on your head until the bell rang. Did she ever put it over your head? Asked Todd. Lots of times, said Louis. Everybody laughed. It wasn't funny, said Louis. My mother always knew when I got in trouble because I'd have little bits of trash stuck in my hair. Did it get stuck in your mustache too? Asked Rondi. Louis didn't have a mustache when he was our age, said Allison. Did you, Louis? Suddenly, Louis screamed. Everyone stared at him. She's back, he shouted as he shook with fear. Then he slapped himself in the face. Excuse me, he said. Sorry. For a second, I thought I saw Mrs. Drazzle. He turned to Dee Dee. Come on, let's go to the monkey bars. No, declared Dee Dee. I'm not going back. I'm never getting on those monkey bars again. Louis took hold of her hand. Mrs. Gorf isn't there, he said. You just imagined her. They headed to the monkey bars. No one else dared to follow. If she starts to wiggle her ears, run away as fast as you can, warned Dee Dee. She held tightly onto Louis's hand. When they reached the monkey bars, no one was there. Where were you when you saw her? Asked Louis. I was hanging upside down over there, said Dee Dee, pointing. Okay, go hang upside down, said Louis. No! Exclaimed Dee Dee. Don't worry, I'll be right here in case anything happens. It had rained during the night, so the sand under the monkey bars was wet and somewhat hard. Dee Dee walked across the sand and pulled herself up on the bar. She hooked her legs over, then hung from her knees. "Well, do you see her?" Lewis asked. And then you have to look and see. The next bit is written upside down because she's hanging upside down. Let's see what it says. "No, it's safe now," said Dee Dee. "Thanks, Lewis. I guess you're right. I must have seen my shadow or something." Dee Dee pulled herself right side up, then hopped down from the monkey bars. She and Lewis walked away hand in hand. She held Lewis's hand not because she was scared, but because she liked him. "Mrs. Drazzle sounds almost as bad as Mrs. Gorf," said Dee Dee. "She was," said Lewis. "She once made me put my gum on my nose because I was chewing it in class." "How can you chew on your nose?" asked Dee Dee. Behind them, Dee Dee's footprints could be seen in the wet sand under the monkey bars. There was also another set of footprints made by someone who had much bigger feet.